right, everybody. Happy day after Labor Day. If you're somebody who still actually has a job and you got Labor Day off as a paid holiday, kudos to you. So whether you're coming back from a 2-day weekend or a 3-day weekend, the big part of the news is that the Senate, yeah, remember them? The U.S. Senate? Yeah. They came back from their Labor Day month. I know you got a weekend or maybe a 3-day weekend. They got a month because let's be honest, working less than 200 days a year for, $200,000 a year in full benefits is really tiring. And gosh darn it, those people need vacations. But of course, that the Senate coming back into town means that we're back in the land of Mitch McConnell and finding out all the joyous things that he has planned for us now that he's had a month in his evil lair to sit around and plan and plot and clack his fingers together and go, excellent. Yeah. So here's Mitch McConnell. He's rolling back into D.C. after the vacation. Yeah. Mitch McConnell. Yeah. So shall we see what the kooky, turtley dumpster fire is up to? I mean, after all, Senate's been back in session for, 8 hours. Just usually 7 hours more than Mitch McConnell needs to completely screw over the working class. So let's see what's going on. Oh, there you go. Stimulus check. GOP bill will not include direct payments. Whew. Wow, for a second there, I thought Mitch McConnell was actually going to have, his fellow Republicans in the Senate keep Americans from becoming homeless and destitute, but I'm glad he didn't do anything crazy like that. Hopefully, though, he's still helping out corporations because, after all, what would we do without more government aid for corporations, right? So let's see what Mitch has got cooking. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell said Tuesday the Senate would vote on a trimmed-down Republican coronavirus relief package, though it has a slim chance of passage in the face of Democrats' insistence for more sweeping aid. Kentucky Republican released the approximate $500 billion measure as senators return to Washington for an abbreviated pre-election session, as hopes are dimming for another coronavirus relief bill or much else. But it won't contain another round of $1,200 direct payments going out under Trump's name, according to the Associated Press. So thankfully, Mitch McConnell's not going to do anything crazy like give American people who haven't been able to work for 6 months some money. Whew. Yeah, I got real scared there. Republicans struggling to retain their Senate majority this fall have been divided, with some GOP senators in close races anxious to respond further to the pandemic, even as conservatives are tiring of all the spending and passing legislation in concert with liberal House Speaker Nancy Pelosi. If you don't know the totality of what that sentence means, what it means is that every single representative in both houses are currently looking at their polling numbers comparative to the devastating corona numbers in their specific districts or states, and then deciding what their response should be, not based on human need, but rather based upon what tracks better in advanced polling. Because these are people who are more concerned with retaining their cushy job than helping you. Now, if helping you happens to coincide with an idea that has good poll numbers, well, then you're in luck and you might get some aid. The rest of us, not so much. McConnell called the package a targeted proposal that focuses on several of the most urgent aspects of the crisis, the issues where bipartisanship should be especially possible. They include school aid, new money for vaccines and testing, and a second round of paycheck protection program. Now, this, I assume, looks good in theory, right? School aid, new money for vaccines and testing, and a second round of popular paycheck protection program. Okay, let's see what it actually looks like. Democrats are demanding a far larger bill, including hundreds of billions of dollars for state and local governments, more generous jobless benefits, and help for renters and homeowners, along with other provisions in the House Democrats' $3.5 billion relief bill that they passed back in May. So it sounds like the Democrats are trying to get more money directly into the hands of American citizens, And the Republicans don't like the idea of that. So the Republicans, according to this sentence up here, want to put their money into school aid, money for vaccines, and PPP loans. Okay. Let's see how that's going to work out, all right? Republican senators such as Susan Collins of Maine are eager to show constituents they're continuing to work to ease the pandemic's disastrous impact on jobs, businesses, and health. But many Senate Republicans are resisting more spending, and the scaled-back bill is roughly half the size of a measure McConnell unveiled earlier this summer before he left for his month-long vacation. So let's see where McConnell's proposing all this money. $105 billion to help schools reopen. I thought schools were open. Oh, he means $100 billion to force people to physically go back into school so that their parents, the lazy people who choose to stay home with their children, are forced to go back to work. Ah, I see. So if Mitch is going to pump $105 billion into that, he has to know that there's a greater economic return than $105 billion in getting the full labor force out in Corona land, pumping away and breathing heavy. Okay. That seems on brand. Enact a shield against lawsuits for businesses and others that are powering ahead to reopen. Enact a shield. Oh, okay. So Mitch McConnell wants to make everything reopen, and businesses are like, hey, but if we reopen to 100%, people are going to get sick and die and sue us. And Mitch McConnell's like, hey, you know what we're going to do? If the peasants want any money at all, we're going to make them sign this and agree that they can't sue anybody if they get COVID for us, forcing the government to fully reopen, forcing the country to fully reopen, and kickstarting the economy to where people once again have to run on the treadmill at 40 miles an hour or face homelessness, starvation, and die. Yes, I think you will find the demands of capitalism to be highly coercive. Let's see. He wants to create a scaled back $300 per week supplemental jobless benefit. Now, the Democrats, I know, were proposing $600. The problem with the per week supplemental jobless benefit means that number one, you have to have filed a claim. B, your claim has to have been approved. C, you had to have already been on unemployment. And D, your unemployment benefits at the state level could not have run out yet. Now, if you make all those qualifications, then if this bill gets passed, then you might be able to get an additional $300 a week in federal unemployment aid. You followed all that, right? Just checking. And he wants to write off $10 billion in earlier debt at the U.S. Postal Service. Well, of course he does. They're planning on privatizing it. And, the less debt they have on the sheet when they take it public, the higher the stock offering is going to be, and more people will pay for stocks in the newly minted private postal service. Well played, Mitch McConnell. There's $31 billion for a coronavirus vaccine, which, of course, a corporation will get the rights to manufacture and then can price and sell at any price they choose depending on market demand. And considering it's a global pandemic, I am going to assume that market demand is going to be pretty fucking high here in the land of the free and the home of the chronically infected because we can't wear goddamned masks. $16 billion for virus testing because, of course, we have to test pro athletes every single day in every single sport so that they continue entertaining the masses and keeping the masses mollified. Yeah, that's very important. And $15 billion to help childcare providers reopen. Please see my previous comments about schools and poor parents and single mothers and their filthy children that somehow need to be watched while their parents are off selling their labor at the lowest possible fucking price. Yeah. Oh, there's additional $20 billion for farmers. Cool. Yeah, I think there's like 14 farmers left in the country. Farm foreclosures are once again at an all-time high, and the vast majority of the farmland in America has been bought up by large agri-corporations. So, good to see corporations getting some more money. The package will also include a school choice initiative sought by Texas GOP Senator Ted Cruz. I feel like this is already going to be bad. And others that would provide a tax break for 2 years for people who donate to non-profit organizations offering private school scholarships. Please see wealthy people donating money to Christian schools. They should get a tax break for that. Yeah, you know what's great? every last person in the United States of America that has a business that they operate out of their home can no longer claim any business deductions because Trump got rid of all of those. So no, we want to take away tax deductions and increase the tax liability for people who operate small businesses out of their homes. But we want to make sure we give a tax break to wealthy people who give money to Catholic schools. That's really important in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah. By the way, have you thought of maybe just praying the COVID away? Have we tried that? I mean, we seem to be in the mood for just thinking that religion's going to solve this. Maybe y'all could just, shoot up a prayer to the big guy and, kill the COVIDs. Oh, that's not a thing? Oh, okay. Well, then instead, how about you just donate money to bougie Catholic schools and Ted Cruz will give you a free fucking tax credit? Now, I get that people have the conversation of, but what about the budget? We're going to go in debt. Oh my God, what's going to happen? Well, here, I'd like to remind you that back in April, the initial relief bill passed by Congress included $454 billion to backstop federal lending programs, which would allow central bank to pump as much as $4 trillion into the economy, which is more than the Fed spent on its bond buying program in the 6 years after the financial crisis in '08. Oh, that's right. $4 trillion the Federal Reserve just dumped into banks. But wait, that's not all. Hey, you want to go back a few months? Well, it turns out that in the minutes released from the Federal Reserve Chair meeting back in December, they admitted that they pumped roughly $6.23 trillion into banks and trading houses on Wall Street. So you'll have to excuse me if I'm not so concerned about fucking individual people's debts or a company's stock price going down when the Federal Reserve has dumped $10 trillion into backing Wall Street in the last 9 months. Okay? $10 trillion. And yet, inexplicably, in the middle of all of this, housing prices are up 10% from last year across the country. Why? Because only people with a ton of capital can afford to buy a house now. And those people have more money than ever before, while the rest of you have nothing. Last point for those who are concerned about debt and businesses. And we can't give people money because it's welfare, but we can pump $10 trillion into Wall Street and the banks, and then we can write some more bailouts for fucking airlines, but not human beings or actual people, right? Yeah, okay, we're so concerned about the economy. This is the Dow Jones Industrial Average, starting from the beginning of this year until today. In the beginning of January, the Dow was at 26,000. It's now at 28,000. That's right. Our entire economy has shrunk by like 50%. We have numbers as bad as a century ago during the Great Depression, and yet somehow the Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 2,000 points this year. Surely this is an anomaly, right? Oh, it's not? Oh, what's that? Oh, in January, the S&P 500 was at 32, but now it's at 3,400. Okay, surely that's just another anomaly, right? Oh no, what's that? At the beginning of the year, the NASDAQ, which trades primarily tech stocks, was at 9,000. The index is now at 11,000 after a high of 12,000 2 weeks ago. So, why don't you follow the money trail, okay? $10 trillion pumped into Wall Street and the banks. The Senate doesn't want to give you any stimulus checks, but they wanted to give $10 trillion to banks, to corporations, and to shareholders, and none to you. Stocks are at an all-time high and continue to rise. Even as our GDP continues to shrink, we keep losing trading partners, we keep losing manufacturing, and we keep losing portions of our workforce to unemployment, depression, and suicide. But go ahead and tell me how giving money to people would possibly be a bad idea in the face of such fucking corporate and government benevolence as they mate together and just go and suckle upon each other's teats while you and I fucking starve. Welcome to America, everybody. End stage capitalism. It is a pain in the ass.